Joe Kissell takes control of DEVONthink 4. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by MacVoices Live, our weekly live panel discussion of what is going on in the Apple space, as well as the larger tech world, and how it is impacting you. Join us live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, or whatever time that is wherever you are, at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV, and participate in the chat, or catch the edited and segmented versions of the show on the regular MacVoices channels and feeds. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we are back today to talk about a new Take Control book that is about a program I use. I'm anxious to see what's new in it because there's only one way to find out what's new in a favorite program, and that's in a Take Control book. That's why Joe Kissell is here. He has authored Take Control of DEVONthink 4. Joe, it's great to see you as always. And Joe just triggered his camera. That's perfect.
I
Joe.
thought I was just waving. I didn't realize I had the do something when I make a gesture thing on. You know what? Hold on. What's the? I got to turn this thing on. All right. Let me go over here.
That was fun.
And I'm gonna, okay, so that feature works, but that was not what I was really just saying hi.
Yeah.
Okay. Where is the oh, there we go. Yeah. Let's turn off all the, so now I'm going to do this again. Nothing happened.
Okay.
Cool.
So.
At least there weren't like fireworks or something. I mean, lasers, you know.
Yeah, well, at least that gesture didn't trigger anything. Let's not try any other gestures.
That's an AI feature, okay? And the AI feature is trying to be helpful. Like if I wanted it to, the camera would, track me as I move around and stuff like that and zoom in and out. Like it can do that, but people have told me that it's really distracting to look at you when it's zooming all around like that. Just like make your camera sit still and I don't know.
And you sit still. Yeah.
We're going to talk about AI today, and it's cool that a camera can do that, but I'm not sure that in this sort of environment that it's more helpful than harmful. So, AI trade-offs.
Yeah, there you go. So Take Control of DEVONthink 4. I have not upgraded to DEVONthink 4 yet because I was kind of waiting for this book. I knew that it was coming, and it always feels good when I can feel like I've already have some familiarity with the new features that I'm going to be attempting to use anyway. So, I know your previous Take Control of DEVONthink books have been perfect for this. Mm-hmm. Is this the way that I should look at Take Control of DEVONthink 4 as the perfect way to get into the program?
Do you even have to ask? Well, of course. So, first of all, before I address that, I just want to step back for listeners, viewers who are not familiar with DEVONthink or have only maybe a vague idea what it is. Maybe I can just describe it for a minute. Well, maybe I can't do it in a minute. Maybe it's going to take me an hour. Here's the thing. DEVONthink is the Swiss Army knife. The Swiss Army knife of Mac apps. It's maybe the Leatherman of that's over there of Mac apps. It can do like almost anything. You can use it to organize documents, just like, you can put files and folders in the Finder, and you can name them and tag them and, move them around and different views and all that. Okay, you can all do all that in DEVONthink too. But DEVONthink has vastly better tools for organizing, tagging, searching, smart groups that are like smart folders, automation. It can go like massively beyond what the Finder can do. And you can also create documents in it. You can create text documents in Markdown and HTML and PDFs, all kinds of things you can create within DEVONthink. And not only is it very highly automatable, but you can actually create Apple scripts, let's say, to automate DEVONthink from within DEVONthink. And you can use it as an RSS reader. You can even view live web pages in it. The list just goes on and on and on. And I say in the book, if I had to, I could do almost everything I need to do on my Mac in this one app. It is deep. The thing that got me interested in it originally was when I was trying to create a paperless office for myself. And I had a scanner, but I needed the scan documents to go through OCR to recognize the text. And I needed those to be filed someplace. And so that's a thing that DEVONthink can do. Of course, it'll recognize the text and scan documents. Goes really well with a sheet fed scanner or something. So that was kind of my own personal entry point, but it can do so much more, whether you just need to keep track of like a lot of little random snippets, notes, text, graphics, sounds, movies, whatever, or if you have like a huge research project, you're working on your dissertation, or you're writing a book, or you are a scholar studying some historical topic or whatever, DEVONthink can not only organize all of your materials for you, but it can also help you find interesting connections between the different documents that you might not be able to identify otherwise. It's a really, really powerful research tool, but again, it's gigantic. It just has thousands of features. So back in whatever it was, 2010 or something, like 2011, a long, long time ago, I wrote a book on the version of DEVONthink that was current at that time, DEVONthink 2, and I called it Getting Started. Take Control of Getting Started with DEVONthink 2, because I'm like, this book might be 150-ish pages long, but that's nothing. I can't tell you everything this app does in 150 pages. Well, then we did Take Control of DEVONthink 3, and that was longer. And now we have Take Control of DEVONthink 4, which is 300 pages. And even at 300 pages, there are hundreds of features that I don't even mention once. I can't. If I were to make a comprehensive book about literally everything this app can do, it would be 1,000 pages long, and nobody wants to read that. So even though it's 300 pages, it's still kind of the basics. It's kind of getting started with this app and making some sense of it and trying to figure out like what kind of workflow works for you, and how which features would be the most useful to you for what you want to do and how you want to do it, and how do you get at them. So that's just for people who are unfamiliar with the concept of DEVONthink. I wanted to just give a little bit of background. And then in terms of the book, DEVONthink includes its own documentation, which is fine. It's really good documentation, as is the case with most apps. The documentation kind of starts with what's here and what does it do? Oh, what does this button do? What does this menu do? What does this, formatting bar do? And that's important to know. It's very useful to know. the way we like to approach things in the Take Control world is more task oriented. Like, how do I do this task in this app? And I mean, it's not purely that. We do talk about what's here and what the different widgets do and all that, but we're trying to not just say, well, there's like 100 however many menu commands and all these icons and buttons and doohickeys. That's nice, but that doesn't help you figure out, well, I want to scan documents and work with the text in them. How do I do that? Or whatever the thing is. So we're trying to take more of a what do you want to do approach. So that's what's going on with this book.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that you are the reason I'm a DEVONthink user, because I followed your instructions in that book, got DEVONthink, and that's what let me go paperless, because I too have a sheet feed scanner, and it ingests, it OCRs, and it files for me. And so it is phenomenal. The reason I validate that is Take Control of DEVONthink, or excuse me, Getting Started with DEVONthink still available, and is it still a viable way to supplement the new book and get into it? Or do you sort of take a more, do you at least give us some kind of ground up approach for DEVONthink 4 and then dive into the more task oriented examples?
Yeah, it's the latter. So we discontinued the book on version 2 when version 3 came out, and we discontinued the book on version 3 when version 4 came out. So they all, I mean, each book is kind of based on its predecessor. So it has the overall structure of the previous book, and there are quite a few words that survived, quite a few words that actually survived from the original version. But I touched basically every page. I made something like 1,000 changes, added a lot of text. It's quite a bit longer than the previous book. Excuse me. And it does start with, okay, well, you're looking at a window. What do you call that thing over there? And what do you call that thing over there? Because like I'm going to be telling you, well, you go to the sidebar and you do this, or you go to this inspector and you do that. So what do we call these things and what do they do? Okay, so we do give you a little tour there, but also I kind of talk about, now let's just step back a little bit and talk about what kinds of things you would do with an app like this, and what you should use it for, maybe what it's not so good at, because it's not the right tool for everything. And so try to ease you into it. And one thing I would want to say to anyone who either is using DEVONthink or is thinking about using it, maybe you downloaded the free trial or whatever, and you're like, oh, boy, but like, do I have to learn all this to use the app? And you don't. Like, if you want to use it for 3 small things and it makes those 3 small things better and easier for you, hey, great. You don't have to use everything. And maybe you'll be using those 3 features that you really dig, and one day be like, oh, you know what? I just remembered I can also do this thing in it. And then you do another thing in it, and you kind of keep expanding from there. So I want you to have an idea of what sorts of things you can accomplish with this, but you do not need to be an expert in all of those things to use this app.
Okay, and I'm kind of a fan of the approach you're talking about, because it provides an easy entry into a program. It lets me accomplish something, and also then I can maybe start to leverage my learning about that program. And maybe, well, okay, it might be good for this, it might be good for that. And with DEVONthink, this and that there can be a lot of this and that.
That is true. So
go. Sorry. Well, no, I was going to say, where do we want to go?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking I should say a few words broadly about what's new in DEVONthink 4. and then maybe we can get into some of the specific features. One of the things that's different is their licensing model. And there's been a lot of discussion about this, and not just with DEVONthink, but also with another app you'll be hearing about from us real soon. It's kind of almost sort of subscription-ish, but not really a subscription. And like, I have real sympathy for all sides of the subscription debate. There are some apps that I personally stopped using because they were available only by subscription, and I felt that the rates were excessive, and I was not getting that much value out of them, and I just didn't like the idea. You know, I paid for this thing. I paid hundreds of dollars for this thing, and then I paid you for an upgrade, and I paid you for another upgrade and another upgrade. But now you're saying that unless I keep paying you every month or every year, it's just going to stop working. Like that doesn't feel good to me as a user. Plus, you know, like my monthly software budget is only so high. So I totally get that. I totally get the resistance to anything that feels like a subscription. On the other hand, I also know, as you know, from my point of view as someone who has like we have books that we update all the time, and the bigger updates we charge some money for, but the smaller updates are free. So how do I pay an author for their time spent doing an update that we're not going to sell? How do I pay me as both a publisher and an author for all of my expenses, you know, the editing and the production and the web hosting, all those things, when you know, what we're doing is giving you a free update to a book you bought a year ago. So I really appreciate how software developers are in a similar position. They want to keep their software up to date, add new features, fix bugs, all those things. But if you paid them last year or 2 or 3 years ago, and they're not getting any new money for this work, like how does that work for them financially? So I deeply understand both sides of this. What we're seeing more nowadays, and DEVONthink 4 is an example of this, is a sort of hybrid model. So DEVONthink's new scheme is you buy the app and you get updates for a year, and at the end of that year, you can pay them again. It's not really a subscription. I don't think it auto renews. I have to check on that. But in any case, you can just buy a year and say, okay, I'm going to pay for it and get free updates for a year. And at the end of that year, nothing's going to happen. It's going to keep working. You can keep opening your documents. You can keep using the app. But any new features that are added, bug fixes, you don't get those for free. So if you decide that you want to get the new features and the bug fixes, then you pay, smaller fee for a year of those. And it doesn't have to be continuous. You can say, well, I'm going to wait 3 months. I'm going to buy another year's worth or whatever. And that way, the developer gets the recurring income they need to actually, eat. And you aren't just shut down. You aren't cut off. This app that you bought and paid for doesn't suddenly stop working until you feed the machine. So I think that's pretty humane, and I think their prices are reasonable. So that's one of the things that has changed. But I want to mention this up front, even though we haven't actually talked about features of the app yet, because for people who have developed a sort of instinct to, like, as soon as they see anything that smells like a subscription, they just like, no, hard pass. So once again, I was able to do this without zooming. I just want to reassure you, it's not like that. It's still an app that you buy, and you're buying the app plus a year of updates. That's reasonable. And if you want another year of updates, you buy that later. So I would encourage you not to be turned off by the licensing. So that's like a meta question. Now, DEVONthink, I haven't memorized like all the licensing numbers, but basically there are 3 versions of DEVONthink. This has been the case for many years. So there's the standard version, which is the cheapest, and then there's the pro version, which is more expensive, and then the server version, which is the most expensive. And as I say in the book, in terms of like the features and what you get for the price and how many people are likely to use certain features, I feel like the middle version, the pro version, is kind of the sweet spot for most people. It's not too expensive, but it has the stuff you really need. There are things like the biggest, most important, most useful new features are only available in the pro or server editions. So for people just getting started and trying to figure out which one of these tiers do I want, I would really encourage you to go with the middle tier, the pro tier, because you'll get most of the cool new stuff that's really going to be useful to you while not breaking the bank. So just kind of leave that out there. Now I'm just going to rest my voice for a moment while you come up with an interesting question to ask me.
Well, first of all, I am aware of at least one other software company that does that kind of. There's no other way to say it, subscription, but that staggered subscription, or the idea that they don't cut off the service. Right now, I was going through a period where I needed that software almost on a daily basis. Now I'm in a period where I don't need it. And my subscription with air quotes has expired, and the program continues to work just fine. So I'm watching them bring out new updates, and I'm excited to get back into it at a time that when I will need it. But I kind of like the idea of being able to take the break and not spending the subscription money when I don't need it. Because in the past, there have been times that, they brought out new updates and new features, and I really didn't need them. They didn't apply to what I was doing. So I personally think this may be one of the 2 or 3 best subscription models out there, where, to your point, you don't get cut off, but you also don't enjoy the benefits and the new upgrades until you're ready for them. So I applaud DEVONthink for this model. I think it's, and I'm not saying that I'm not, they are not the sponsor of the show, and I'm not pandering to them. I really do think that's a great model.
Yeah.
So my super intelligent, my super intelligent question is, what are some of the biggest new things that we can do with DEVONthink, or the biggest new features?
Okay, let me begin with some things that anyone can do regardless of which edition, which version they have. I'll start with something comparatively small, but very, very useful, and that is support for versioning. A lot of Mac apps already support versioning. I mean, even TextEdit supports versioning, which is to say, every time you're working on a document, every time you save it, your Mac records the current state, but also remembers the previous state. So you can go back and look at how the document was an hour ago, a day ago, a week ago. If you've made some changes and you accidentally screwed something up, or you deleted something, or whatever, you need to see how a document looked in the past. You can use this feature, and in the Finder, it looks very much like Time Machine, and you see your current version of the document and the little like stack receding into the background of earlier versions, and you can compare them side by side and say, oh yeah, this one, let's go back to this one, restore that earlier version. So this has been a kind of built-in Mac feature that app developers can take advantage of for quite some time. Not all of them have. DEVONthink doesn't follow, it doesn't treat documents the same way standalone Mac apps do. It just has a different model. So it can't quite tap into the standard Mac OS system for versioning, but they created their own, which gives you essentially the same capability. It just looks different. So if you are working on, you're writing a novel in DEVONthink, or you're writing your dissertation in DEVONthink, or you're creating whatever kind of document, and the possibilities are nearly endless, and you realize, oh crap, I really made a bad mistake here, or I need to see how this looked a few days ago. Now you can go back and look at older versions and restore an old version. And when you do that, it still keeps the version that you were working on, so that you don't lose that work either. You have to manually enable this. It's not on by default, but you just go in, check the box and say, okay, yes, remember versions for me, please. And from then on, it does. So in my world, working with long documents, I cannot tell you how many times, almost several times a day, I have to go back and look at an earlier version of something for some reason. And having that capability within DEVONthink is fantastic. And that can be an earlier version, like you have a PDF in there that you're annotating or doing other stuff with, or you have a text document or HTML or Markdown or whatever that you are building. You're fiddling with a graphic, whatever kind of document you have, whatever you're doing with it, you can go back to see earlier versions. And I find that extremely handy.
Agreed. And that's a fantastic new addition, especially if you're going to just maybe not work exclusively in DEVONthink, but spend a lot of time there.
Yeah. Next feature I'll mention is, in my personal opinion, it is a misnomer. It's what they call audit-proof databases. So the idea is, if you are working in an environment, perhaps a legal environment or a financial environment, in which the work that you do might be subject to an audit, somebody has to go through and be able to go back and see exactly, okay, what was added to the database, when, what changes were made, what changes can I be sure could not possibly have been made, so that whether it's part of your own organization or a government agency or some outside force that has to confirm the history of a group of data, you want to be able to survive the audit. Basically, you want to be able to prove that chain of this thing, once it got in here, was never changed, basically. So it's not that you're making a database that is audit proof in the sense of can't be audited. It's a database that will survive an audit, a database that, if it were audited, you would be able to prove that, here is a complete list of when I added everything to this database, and here's proof that this wasn't changed and that wasn't changed and that wasn't changed. So this is something that most ordinary people don't need. And in fact, most ordinary people would probably hate, because audit-proof databases intentionally keep you from making a lot of changes and edits that you would normally make in the course of doing your thing. But if you happen to be in one of those professions where you need to have an audit trail, now you can do that in DEVONthink. So I I think that's probably all that needs to be said about that feature for this audience, but I wanted to mention it because it's a new thing. For people working with PDFs, there's some new features. So when you buy a Take Control book from us and you get the PDF format, we of course have a table of contents, and we have tons and tons of internal links. It'll be like, but I say more about this in this chapter, click the link, go there. Okay, so we have that all over the place for your navigational convenience. If you have a PDF that doesn't have internal links, doesn't have a table of contents, or what it has is inadequate for your needs, now DEVONthink can make one for you. So you can bookmark any spot in a PDF and create your own table of contents so that you can now jump from one spot to another in the PDF. And for people who work with long PDFs that they did not create, or that they created, but for whatever reason they didn't automatically have a table of contents or other internal links, now you can make those yourselves. And I think that's a very valuable feature for people who work a lot with PDFs. If you don't work with PDFs, or if you work with only 2-3 page PDFs, doesn't matter. But for those who have the need, that could be a very cool feature.
Joe is back in the next edition of MacVoices to finish up our conversation of Take Control of DEVONthink 4, and you don't want to miss it. I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.